Perusia. The return and presence of Christ, and for the enlightenment of love, which in our body is not a cortisol stress hormone. And we probably all know that, we can all feel it, but this perhaps is making it more conscious. So, yeah, my career has been as a therapist and multi techniques, starting off with beauty therapy and then learning reflexology and aromatherapy before the days of them being popular, in the days when people doubted everything and all our techniques. And then I discovered Touch for Health, which is the foundation of all kinesiology, where we use muscle response testing to measure the response in the body. And then there's points on the body which correct weaknesses from whatever cause. And it's absolutely amazing and miraculous. And God has made us in this way. I got challenged as to whether it was a form of divination. And so I studied scripture and healing to find my answers. I've also always been fascinated by gemstones, and I had been working on looking at gemstones to meet personality types for engagement, which I still haven't published. But that was where I started studying the healing and therapeutic properties of gemstones and crystals. And I didn't foresee that I would end up in the Book of Revelation. And so from all of that, then muscle response testing is not divination. It's the same as a reflex test that doctors use. And it's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So I write to share that, our bodies do have that possibility for healing, as Christ showed us and teaches us. One of the things that he always said was, your faith has made you well. And so your faith is essential for being able to make those changes in the way our bodies are made. Psychology, faith is the ultimate psychology. And right at the beginning, God says, do not positively die. And so if we positively die, we lose faith. We become negative. We become doubtful. We lose hope. Yeah, so those psychologies are essential in all forms of healing. And Jesus Christ, the Messiah, is also our wonderful counselor. So when things do go wrong, we do need counselling to discover that truth that has taken away our spirit of love and caused the grief, hurt, pain, depression, whatever might be, blood pressure. In my case, blood pressure. Yeah. And so the truth does set us free from that grief, hurt, and pain, that we can consciously understand, process, grieve, counsel, in order to find the peace. So all of the fruits of God's Spirit are they're not stress hormones in the body. They all, I would say, produce the natural endorphins that our body produces. And so the endorphins and the positive neurotransmitters produce the peace and love, the natural attachment, the relaxation, the calmness, the serenity, the happiness, the joy, and bliss, the bliss molecule, which, I would say is what rapture is about. But I'd also say it's what heaven on earth is about. And for us to attain to that, then we need to employ the full spirit of self-control. And we just seem to be in a world that doesn't have much self-control. And relationships are just breaking. 1 out of 2 marriages now end up in divorce. There's a scripture, isn't there? Do not let anyone pull apart what God has yoked together as an egg. And yeah, when there's love, there's that real bond. But with the sins and the temptations that the Lord's Prayer asks us to be protected from, do divide relationships and conscience and cause stress. So all of this work is looking at those emotional and conscious states of being, looking at emotional intelligence as opposed to artificial intelligence, which, whilst it doesn't hurt people necessarily, doesn't have love. And without love, the world's a harsh and clashing place. And I think that's pretty true if we look at the world now. So many people in hardship, not only the homeless but the refugees, lost their home, their country, everything. The wars are just raging. Millions of people on antidepressants, millions of people on pharmacia medications to stay alive from the stresses that have caused the disease in the first place. And that might be foods. So the sugars in manufactured foods, in foods that are not necessarily foods. They're not nourishing for our bodies, and our body needs nourishment. It does actually need oils, so we live in a society saying we should all be thin, and so everything's fat free. But actually the oils are essential for health in our body. So, and then let's just look at all the chemical hormone interferers. We've got children not knowing if they're a boy or a girl, and using pharmacia to transition. But I would ask, is it the stresses that we're living with? And let's remember that many children are separated from their mothers at a very young age.